Now, once again, Raymond Arroyo.
Welcome back to The World Over Live. In our last segment, we summed up the week at the Synod, but now we'd like to take you inside. Joining us is a Synod father participating at this meeting to give us his take on the small group discussions, the process, and much more. Joining us from Rome is the president of the U.S. Conference of Catholic Bishops, Archbishop Joseph Kurtz. Thank you so much for being here.
Raymond, so good to be with you. Thank you for having me.
Archbishop, there seems to be a lot of confusion about this working document. I want to play you a little soundbite. Now, this is Archbishop Mark Coleridge of Brisbane. He told our Mary Shevlin this about the working document. Listen.
Now, in some ways, I have to say the working document, with all due respect to those who put it together, is a bit of a dog's breakfast.
Archbishop, your thoughts on this? Is this a dog's breakfast, and what are your concerns with this document?
Well, Raymond, let me not begin by describing it, but really say what's in it. The document itself is a compilation. Mm-hmm. It's basically the work that we did at the end of the last Synod, and then there were consultations from all over the world, and the writing group sought to bring together a number of those issues. So you're, in a sense, the Archbishop is correct. It doesn't read very smoothly, but it's meant to put before the Synod delegates the issues that were raised over the last year.
Archbishop, there seem to be a lot of concerns this week from the small groups that not only was there an imprecision in the language, marriage wasn't even described clearly in the opinion of some. Others said that what was needed in this document was to have a more scriptural interpretation. Your thoughts are, do you have any concerns with this document?
Well, of course, I was the relator for the English section right. A, and so I've had the opportunity to actually put together our summary. And I would say there were a couple of things that came to mind. One is everyone's talking about language, not just the language that's in the document, but the language that we use as a church that is obviously accurate theologically, but also that is inviting, that speaks to the modern ear, so to speak. And I think in that case, there were many people saying, let's go back to Scripture. Let's talk about the thirst that is in people, the plan for abundant life, all the many beautiful images that are in sacred Scripture. So you're right. The document itself is meant to give to the Holy Father, at the end of this process, our best thoughts on the vocation and on the mission of the family today. And so my focus, of course, will be on what are the specific pastoral areas.
Archbishop, there seems to be a lot of questions about where this whole process is actually headed. I mean, you all are debating and discussing paragraph by paragraph this instrumentum laboris, this working document, but now what? Where does this go? This goes to this group of 10 people that the Pope has appointed to write a final document. Then what?
Well, you know, of course, it'll be up to the general relator to give officially anything, so I can only give you in an unofficial way the way it's moving. Our Holy Father reminded us at the beginning of the session, I guess it was last week, saying, listen, this is not a parliament, this is an action of communio. It's bishops coming together with the Holy Father and giving him our best advice. So we're in the process right now, Raymond, the relators are, in taking the work of the small groups, basically amendments, and trying to put them in some shape so that the writing group, which is primarily the General Secretary, will put together a flowing document that will then come back to us for other comments, for second comments.
Now, you all will have at the end of this, as a whole synod, you will be voting up or down, paragraph by paragraph. Is that correct? Is that how this is going to end up?
You know, again, I'm not sure if officially it has been said, but that's the working understanding that I have, is that basically what was done last year, and you recall at the end of the Synod last year, we took paragraph by paragraph and voted for it, and when our Holy Father was given it, he not only released the document, but he actually released the level of voting so people could see, what strength of support there was from the delegates.
How do you expect this is going to be used? I mean, some bishops I've spoken to said they would prefer that the Pope would tell you all now how this is going to be used. Do you agree with them?
Well, no, I think the Synod process has always been, from the beginning, giving something to the Holy Father. And so I don't think there's any need for us to change that process. Now, we're free to make recommendations, and if you read actually the summary that I gave, our group actually commended serious consideration for an apostolic exhortation, similar to the ones that have been done in the past.
And that would
we don't believe
that would be where the Pope,
after a 3-week process, there will be a. Go ahead, please.
No. That would be where the Pope would issue a final summary of the entire process in his own words and issue his own teaching, correct?
Well, no, it's not a summary. It is a teaching. So that just as Evangelii Gaudium was a teaching, or Pastoris Dabo Vobis was a teaching, it wasn't simply a summary of the process of the Synod, but it was his reflection based on the advice that he got.
It must be awfully difficult, though, to operate in this way, because some of these small groups are addressing the Holy Father. They suggest pastoral novelties and provisions. Others are amending, meticulously trying to amend this working document that people have reservations about. Is it difficult to operate in this way, not knowing who exactly you're talking to or how this will be used? There are some who are saying the Holy Father could very well take this document and make that the final statement of this Synod.
Well, of course, each group will have its own priorities, but our priority is to say this is to be the best advice we can give to our Holy Father, but we want it in as accessible a language as possible, and of course any pastoral recommendations we make, we want to make sure they're well grounded in church teaching. So we have a rather clear direction. I personally think that it's unrealistic to think that there will be a polished document at the end of this process that would be ready to be given for the average person to read. But I'm one delegate out of 270.
Do you have any concerns going into this third week that it is envisioned will be very contentious, given that the Casper proposal and how to deal with gay and lesbian Catholics will be part of the discussion?
Well, when you say concerns, I think I'm looking to make sure that as we go through the process that we give our best advice. And so I would say my desire would be engagement. And I want to make sure that I'm able to bring forward the amendments or the modi that I think strengthen the document. So it has worked well for the first 2 weeks. It's true that the third chapter is the biggest one.
Right.
And it's the one with many contentious things. So, but I think the process we used is a good one, and I'm kind of confident as we move forward.
I only have 1 minute. I just have to ask you this question. Will you have an opportunity to amend the language once those 10 writers write up the final document? Will that opportunity be presented to you all? Or is it just an up or down vote paragraph by paragraph, which is how it's been sold to the press?
Well, my understanding is that we will have an opportunity to look at a draft and make a second comment.
Archbishop Kurtz, thank you for being here. We'll check in with you later.
Thanks, Raymond.